John Henry Newton was a man that you saw depicted in the video clip we just saw. He lived from 1725 to 1807. Quite an amazing man. He was an Englishman, first of all. He was an Anglican clergyman. He was a writer, author, and songwriter. And interestingly enough, he was a slave ship captain. He literally trafficked thousands of men and women and children to auction blocks. In March of 1748, in one of his voyages with slaves, a storm threatened to sink his ship. He told the story in his journal that he fell to his knees and prayed to God for mercy. And John Newton, from that moment, sensed that there is a God who answers prayer even from the worst of men. So he marked that date, March the 21st, as the turning point in his life. He said, from that point forward, I avoided profanity and gambling and drinking. It was at that point that he wrote these words. He said, I'm not what I ought to be, what I want to be, or what I hope to be. But still, I'm not what I used to be. By the grace of God, I am what I am. John Newton encountered grace. It was grace that turned a man who once traded slaves into a man who, along with his contemporary, William Wilberforce, they fought against slavery during the abolitionist movement in England. Then this same man wrote in 1772 a hymn that he called Faith's Review and Expectation. And it was a song that became known as Amazing Grace. You've heard it sung for you in the video clip. Now, Amazing Grace is become perhaps the most popular song in history, we could argue, with just a very few simple notes and a few simple words. It has a way of just turning the hearts of hopeless people upward toward God. It's been used in incredible ways all throughout history. It was sung by both sides during the Civil War. It was used as a funeral song by the Cherokee Indians on their Trail of Tears. That song was used by civil rights protesters during their freedom marches. The song broke out when Dr. Martin Luther King shared his dream. It was a song that was used when Nelson Mandela was freed from prison in South Africa. It rang out when the Berlin Wall came tumbling down. Then on 9/11 in our own country, at Ground Zero, it was a song that spontaneously broke out and somehow brought comfort to a mourning world. Amazing Grace. Why do they call grace so amazing? What is it about grace that's so remarkable? I want to ask you to do something. Just for 10 seconds, turn to a person next to you and tell them just a definition of grace. Would you? Just a real brief thing. Just tell them what is grace? How would you define grace? Okay, take a few seconds and share that with each other. Okay, someone told me they thought grace was a lucky break. That's not the right answer, okay? You can define grace in a number of different ways. Sometimes it's commonly defined as undeserved favor. Well, that sounds a little sterile to me. It kind of makes me want to yawn. Okay, undeserved favor. Well, what is that? What does that mean? Well, my challenge from this moment to the moment that you walk out these doors in just a little while is to take you from that place you are right now where maybe you're yawning about grace to a point where you'll go, wow, now I get why grace is so amazing. Now I get it. Okay, so that's our goal. When you leave here, you'll have a fresh awakening of this concept of grace. Now, in order for me to bring you from your current reality to that place where you'll say, wow, I need to do a little bit of context here, okay? If I can explain two related words, I think that will provide a platform for you to understand grace even more deeply. So let's explore two words. One is justice and one is mercy. So first of all, what is justice? Well, justice is getting precisely what you deserve. It's nothing more, nothing less, just getting precisely what you deserve. Now, take for example, let's suppose you get a speeding ticket. You're out in your speedy little red sports car and a law enforcement officer justifiably pulls you over because you're doing 30 miles an hour over the speed limit. You end up in court and the judge says to you, that'll be $150, pay up. Now, the judge isn't being harsh. He's not being mean. He's not being nasty. He's just simply asking you to pay what you deserve. Okay? That's simply justice. So that judge is being just. Okay, makes sense? All right, take stealing as an example. Did you see the story this past week where in West Price Hill, this thief broke into a home near Fisk Avenue and he stole a flat screen TV and a laptop computer and he used as his getaway vehicle a bicycle. Okay? Now, one of the neighbors snapped this shot you see on the screen. The police released this in hopes that someone would recognize it. Because the remarkable thing is the guy got away with this big flat screen and this laptop computer on his bicycle. Now, that clown's going to be caught, and he's going to stand before a judge, and a just judge will say that'll be 2 years in jail. Now, again, that judge is not on a personal vendetta against this guy. He's just being just. You're getting exactly what you deserve. Now, that's justice. Okay, makes sense? Got that so far? Now, justice is an attribute of God. The psalmist in Psalm 9:16 says, "The Lord is known for His justice. The wicked are trapped by their own deeds." God is a just God. He will make sure that people get exactly what they deserve, and further, He will treat all of us equally. He will not treat Burgin any different than He treats you. He'll treat us all the same. Now, although God has no change or difference in the way in which He looks at justice, humans are a little ambivalent about it. We enter into a sports contest or some kind of an athletic activity, and we want the referees to be fair and just. And when someone does something against us, we cry out for justice. But when we wrong someone else in that process, we hope there's a little more flexibility in the system, right? But here's where we start with our understanding of grace. Justice is getting precisely what we deserve. No more, no less. Now, let's lay alongside that mercy. What is mercy? Well, mercy is getting a little less punishment, a little less retribution than what you deserve. Getting a little less punishment, a little less retribution than you deserve. Take our two examples. You've been speeding 30 miles an hour over the limit, stand before the judge, and the judge says, you know, you've been caught, but instead of the $150 that you should pay, what I'm going to say is just pay $75. You need to pay something, but I'm not going to charge you the full extent here of the penalty for your speeding ticket. I'm going to let you pay a little bit less. Okay? Stealing would be a similar way. This clown rolls his bicycle into the courtroom, and the judge chuckles and says, you know what, you're going to receive a penalty for your breaking and entering, your stealing, but instead of the 24 months that the law would provide, I'm going to sentence you to 18 months. I'm going to be merciful. I'm going to give you a little less than what you deserve. I'm in a good mood today, kind of intrigued how you got away on the bicycle. All right, mercy is also an attribute of God. In Psalm 103, verse 8, David says, "The Lord is compassionate and merciful, slow to get angry, and filled with unfailing love." Now remember Peter? Jesus had spent several years pouring into this man's life. They were very close. At the worst moment of Jesus' life, during this last week of his life, when everything was really coming to bear on him, when he most needed his friend, he was about to be arrested, about to be dragged off to some makeshift court setting, about to be beaten and killed and so on. And you remember what Peter did? Peter bailed on him. Peter